specifically with Todd Wee, what has he done to earn that spot, and how different of a player is he now than he was a year ago?
Again, he's been really consistent, physical, available, which is your best ability, is availability. He's just been a guy that you can count on. Really dependable, tough, physical, does a lot of the little things right, and he plays really strong behind his pads and has always fallen forward. So those are the reasons why he's created opportunity for himself. And again, we've had some guys that are limited, here and there, nothing long term, but that's created opportunity for him. He's taken advantage of it. I think that's the biggest thing, not an indictment on really anybody else, other than it's a statement to really what he's done with the work that he's put in and his productivity with the opportunities he's been given.
Gavin and Devontae, all right. Will they be
Yeah.
inside?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Eric Bailey?
Brent, do you still celebrate big recruiting wins like you did when you were a young assistant coach here at Oklahoma, like when you won Gerald McCoy, Tommy Harris? Do you still celebrate him as an old coach?
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. And again, this is a player's game. Players make plays. My job is to recruit and have the best, strongest roster we can put together. And anytime you get, an elite player, you put a lot of hard work into the process. Sometimes years go into recruiting a prospect. So when it goes your way, obviously there's reason to celebrate, and you celebrate hard, you just don't celebrate long.
How big were year 2 and year 3 in the recruiting cycles back in Oklahoma when you got here in '99, and then also at Clemson on the defensive side of the ball when you got there?
Well, again, I think year 2 and year 3, to your question, is about development with players that you do have, and creating credibility with that, and that allows you to recruit better players, develop relationships, show a body of work that is worthy of the attention of recruits. But as you know the story, you've already watched the movie here at Oklahoma, and what we were able to build. And then again, to a certain degree, took a young roster at Clemson, and with some early success, we were able to recruit at a pretty good level. And again, a few 5-star type guys, but many 3-star type guys that became exceptional players. And I think evaluation process is critical, and that we don't recruit off the top ranking list. That's not where we start at all. We really try to utilize our camp as an opportunity to evaluate. We don't run a combine. We don't run 40s. We don't measure them. We don't put them on a scale. We do football and try to evaluate people. And that's a big part of all of it, is finding, the most talented guys that also are great leaders, and guys that love the game and love the work, and have a sense of maturity to them, and have a good support system, all those kind of things. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're just going down the line here. Jenny?
Hey, Brent, Reggie Pearson. What was it about him that initially intrigued you to bring him in as a transfer? And what role do you expect him to play in your secondary?
Instincts, physicality, experience. And then once you visited with him, very mature, focused, driven, quiet, just about his business, so felt culturally it would fit in. Never asked for any guarantees whatsoever. Just wanted a fresh start, wanted an opportunity to play in this defensive system. And his dad was amazing. He's one of those perfect dads. I'm not sure what he's waiting on. He was standing right there. I'm not sure what he's waiting on. If it was me, I already signed up. And that was kind of how that recruiting process went. It's usually never that easy, but his dad had been a big fan of our defensive system for a while, so that really that helped.
When you've got a guy with that age and also the number of starts that he has, what can that bring, do you feel like, to that free safety position?
Just consistency. That's what wins for you. A guy that, I'll take that over anything. And when guys are going to do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it, not try to make a play, not try to guess, go through their process and, let the defense work for you. That's really what we go through. It's not real complicated. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, you're a year and a half into this and taking on the role of head coach. You'd always been involved with the defense. You're still involved with the defense. Critiquing yourself, where do you think you needed to improve on, and what are you doing different in terms of balancing those roles?
Just be more efficient, overall, be more efficient. So, to me, trying to not do what I know how to do as well as I can do it. Kind of being involved isn't where I need to be. I need to be completely involved defensively. Not that they need my help, but that's what I know. That's how I got to this position. And I think a year ago was certainly involved, but not to the depth that I felt like I needed to be, after evaluating all of it. So it's going to be a collective thing, just like every other defensive staff I've ever been a part. The success and decisions, it will be collective, a collective effort, and everybody has their role. But this is something that I feel like that's one area that I know without question, I can do a good job of just being another a voice, another mind, and another body, an able body to help out.
Your relationship with Ted, how was it last season? Is it going to be any different this year?
No, it's great. Yeah, no different whatsoever. Ted's one of the reasons Ted is here, just because of his depth of experience, both as a coordinator, a head coach, and a bunch of different conferences, 3 different conferences, and he knows what it looks like. So, but he understands what being a great teammate's all about, which is, again, I expect that of all of our staff. It's vital that we have a staff that cohesively understands that and sees eye to eye that way. So it won't change any.
George?
Yeah, hey Brent. Justin Harrington obviously has had a really unique career path here. What has he shown to earn a captain role and also a starting role at Cheetah?
Again, consistency, his work ethic, as a vocal leader, competes at an incredibly, high level. He's been consistent, as I said, with his body of work and his commitment to understanding the details, and then consistently has made plays, since we started back up, both in the spring and the summer and then, in fall camp. But he's long, he's athletic, he's explosive, super aggressive, he can tackle, and he's really starting to understand all of it around him, which is how he's coming into his own as a player as a result.
Ryan, all right.
Talking to Ethan Downs last night, since working under you and Coach Chavis, he's talked about kind of this passion for coaching.
Right.
What have you seen as far as him being able to work with the young guys, that defensive end room, to help not only bring him along, but them along through the spring? And
His
summer?
football IQ has really improved, and again, a year ago at this time, he's just trying to learn the plays himself. So he's worked incredibly hard, and as well as all those guys, just in understanding not only what they do, but why they do it. And that's a very empowering thing as a player. You play at a different level of confidence when you understand the why behind it and maybe what the other guys around you are doing. So he's paying it forward. You know, he's got a servant heart naturally, and so that's not a surprise. You know, to see him as one of those older guys, if you will, you know, helping out the younger guys, you know, and trying to get them to the shortcuts. And that's what you want to build from a stability standpoint on a roster. You know, that's what it looks like.
We'll go down the line on the right side, starting with James.
Brent, you told us to wait to game week to ask you about special teams, and so if you could dive into special teams, and do you feel like athletically you're going to be a good coverage unit as well? If you could update us anything on Julie at this point, that would be nice too. Thank you.
Yeah, again, special teams, there's, again, a lot of battles. We got a really good competitive depth. You know, we played several true freshmen on it a year ago. We'll have some freshmen that'll be sprinkled on there. We've got to be more efficient as we talk about every part of our program. I know I've talked about situationally, maybe in the, you know, pinning people inside the, you know, their own 10-yard line, for example, and we're in those pooch situations. We had 10 touchbacks last year, and we gave up 10 touchdowns as a result. And so we got to be much better there consistently and covering kicks. And all, I think 4 of our 5 losses, we gave up an explosive kickoff return at a really critical time in the game, which in one-score games, it turns into points quickly. When you let people get it out. I think West Virginia, maybe we had a chance to go in at halftime, you know, having shut them out. And we give up, have a nice touchdown drive, and maybe we were up at 13-0 at that time. And we give up a long kickoff return, and 3 plays later, bam, 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 they score a touchdown, create tons of momentum going into halftime. And we're just not good enough to overcome, you know, mistakes like that. We misfit is like an ISO or a split zone or a power play, kickoff return. You got to fit it the right way. You got to set hard edges. You got to have fold players and you know, and all those little things that it takes to stop a split flow play that, you know, we make look easy. You got to do the same thing on a kickoff team. So, you know, we've got to be much better consistently in our kicking game. And there's some things that were really good. You know, we've talked about. You know, and I think for those 3-point losses, we missed field goals. One of the games, we missed 2 field goals. Some of that's not Zach situationally or condition-wise, or maybe I think we had one that was over 50 yards and just barely missed it. So I got a lot of faith in Zach. Obviously, we had a new punter. We're trying to figure that out. Josh Plaster and Luke Elzinga and Ashton are all battling it out, and they all have different strengths and weaknesses, and so that'll continue to work itself out. We really like the guys that are be rotating as far as you know, return game, and feel like we have some guys that can you know, really explosive players that can be incredibly dangerous with the ball in their hand. So I'm really excited about, you know, seeing a group of guys. Special teams wise, it's going to be a lot more efficient in creating field position. Field position is, as we peeled it back last year, we did not win the field position battle like a good team, you know, needs to win it. And so talk about the hidden yards that, you know, how you can be much better. Those are some things that we've really spent a lot of time on, you know, from a special team standpoint. And Julie, she's doing good, you know, probably. Looking at some point in time here in the near future, we'll probably have to do some chemotherapy. But things have gone, you know, well up to this point, all things considered. So appreciate you asking.
Coach, aside from the personal things, looking back 1 year ago, say right now, you know, game week, what are the biggest differences in how you feel going into this? Confidence, comfort, concerns, that type of thing?
Yeah, I've never been one to lack confidence, just because the preparation that you put in, the work that you put in, you know, develops a confidence and a clear vision for where you're going. But anxious, and you didn't have the ability to anticipate in a lot of things. Like, again, a good play caller or a good quarterback or a great blitzing linebacker, you have an anticipation of the snap count. quarterback knows that guy's not open, but I know he's going to be open, or the play caller that anticipates the max blitz in a certain situation. I didn't have this Rolodex of depth and experience to rely on. So just a lot of anxious moments that, again, you plan for, but nothing like doing it. So maybe to a certain degree, there's a level of anticipation with what the game day is going to be like from an organizational standpoint, or the Friday walkthrough, all of those kinds of things. And again, some of the tough decisions that you got to make, both programmatically or staffing, or certainly, with, game day itself. Those are, you got, again, whatever it is, 12 plus months of experience now. I think that's probably the biggest.
You've spent most, if not all, of your career as a coordinator on game days on the sideline, right? What did you like about that vantage point, about the communication you could have down there that kept you down there?
Yeah, I'm a people person. I like to, you try to get into a lot of those conversations and challenge the emotion, the intensity, the passion of it, leading people in those moments. I like to do that, and I like to look in someone's eyes, and I like to be hands-on when it comes to demanding intensity and focus and passion and energy, having an edge, developing confidence. I think you have the ability to do that when somebody's lost their mind, or maybe they've experienced some failure, to be able to get them back where they need to be. Those are things that I really enjoy about the game, and being on the sideline. I like to be a part of that, with the players in particular, and the coaches, for that matter. But just being, hands-on, on the field, and being able to be the guy with the marker, with adjustments and things like that, really, I feel like it can create a level of comfort for the players, taking it from the practice field to game day.
From year 1 to year 2 in your current job as a head coach, what did you learn, and maybe what did you identify in the offseason as it related game management, clock management?
Golly, I think I've answered that a lot. Again, I've said it all along. Again, if you trying to generalize it without getting into all the weeds, but again, just being more efficient, and to me, being more efficient helps you. So if you're more efficient, say for example, we went for several fourth downs early and didn't make them, and after watching, your lack of ability to move people at critical times, now obviously you don't have as much confidence in those situations. So we becoming more efficient, avoiding maybe some of those situations, being better on earlier downs. All of those things, when they use the word efficiency, is what we're talking about. But there's a thing called analytics, and sometimes it can be a really good thing when it's working in your favor. But when you're not making layups to go by the analytics, you got to go back and look at it. And part of it, a year ago, we couldn't stop anybody, and so there's this cumulative effect, in regards to some of those, situations where you feel like you need to extend a drive and stay on the field, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, and so that affects your decision making. But so to me, get better on defense, which, as I said X number of months ago, and I've said it multiple times since, get better on defense. What does that mean? It means to get better on defense, all of it. So I feel like we've done that, but some of it I didn't have to learn. I just knew it when I was in the middle of it. We're not good at X, Y, Z. We got to get better at X, Y, Z. Precision, timing, physicality, execution, and then again some of the decisions. When you're using timeouts, all of those things, you go back and you look at all of that, and there's ways that you can do that. Obviously, you're looking at your situations and how that would affected you. Again, for example, I think there are several times in plus territory and fourth down we chose to punt the ball, it's a great decision if you pin them inside the 10. If you get a touchback, and next thing you know, it turns into a net 25-yard punt, and then they scored 10 times when you did that. So not a good decision. But you pin them inside the 10, they've got a 15% chance of scoring now. And, when you're playing better defense, you can expect to get the ball at midfield after forcing a punt in that situation. So just got to get better in every way, both on the field and off the field.
We've got a bunch of people still on the list. I'm going to ask you to limit yourselves to one question the rest of the way. Sorry.
Yeah, Brent, a lot of the recruiting wins this summer feature in-state kids. You said from the jump, you're going to work inside out. What's that process been like, trying to rebuild the relationships with a lot of the in-state high schools?
I don't think it's been really hard. You just do what you do. You're genuine in those relationships. You're intentional about being present. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to do it. And so being accessible to the high school coaches, welcoming, and then staying in constant, communication. There's lots of ways to do that, but nothing better than having a body present in the school. We're not offering guys out of charity. These are guys that we feel like can help us win at a really high level, and it's been fun. I really enjoy the whole recruiting process, the tough losses along the road, as well as the great wins. It's an exciting thing for me. My vision is, being able to bring in young men that people that love the Oklahoma Sooners are going to be proud of, and that these are young men that deserve an opportunity to play at a school of that's represented, again, the excellence that Oklahoma has for such a long time. So nobody understands that better than the young men, the coaches, and the players in the state of Oklahoma.
Brent, I wanted to ask you about Gentry Williams. You mentioned a few weeks ago, the opportunity was there for him, and growing confidence, things like that. Maybe what did he do during fall camp to solidify your confidence in him, and how did that position battle at that second quarterback spot? How did you see that?
Well, it's still, I'll be honest, it's still really ongoing. I expect to play a lot of guys at the corner position. We got tremendous youth there, and we got to get these guys grown up quickly. But Gentry, he's got tremendous work ethic, really smart. He cares, he's passionate, he's tough. He responds to tough coaching. He's a great teammate. He's one to listen and learn. So he's really humble. Players love him, because he's about his business off the field and on the field. He's a doer, not a talker. It doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does speak, he's about the right stuff. So it's been fun to watch these guys grow up. And every one of them could probably tell you some tough things that they've gone through. I'm talking about all the young guys that we're talking about, whether it's injury or whether it's some failure or the struggle to, fight and compete, to create opportunity for themselves. And so it's been a fun group. Jay's done a great job, and these young men, again, it's a good list. It's Dolby and Vickers and, Jacoby and Kenai Walker and, of course, Gentry, and and Woody's done an amazing job. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the leadership that Woody has poured into these guys. He's as good of a leader as we have on the team, and these guys really look up to and respect Woody. That's been really been a fun group. Jaden Rose, another again young one that. Big, long, and fast. So Josiah Wagner, I know we talked about him a lot. So that's a group that's been a little bit banged up through fall camp and have had to fight through some, some nagging kind of injuries, nothing significant in nature, but it's, it makes every rep count when they are available.
Brent, a year ago, on 3rd and 1 and 2, you had to really count on your guys up front, both sides of the ball. Some games really good, some games not so much, and it bit you a little bit. I take it you're optimistic that you'll be better this year. I'd like to know why, assuming that's the case, or maybe you need to see it for yourself.
That last thing, that's part of it too. you see for myself. You feel like you'll be better for lots of reasons. We're a more physical team, I believe, at the point of attack, particularly on defense, and where we were. I thought we were not necessarily not physical on offense, but on defense, I did not think we were. I thought we were soft in short yardage situations. I got knocked off the ball. Second level didn't support like we needed support. So a lot to not be real happy about, but I think we're more knowledgeable as well as more physical. Our football IQ's improved, and so those are if those aren't, those are as good of reasons as you could possibly, come up with. And we got to be better at the point of attack. There's no question about it, but I do feel like we've helped ourselves with the development of the guys that are on our roster and with some of the portal guys that we have brought on.
Since you've been here, a lot of people pay attention to recruiting classes, portal guys, and they got to play a role. But you named some guys, whether it's Marcus Major, Justin Harrington, of course Ethan Downs was all conference preseason. Some guys who've kind of been here who going to play some key roles. How important is those guys who've kind of been here, been through some stuff, that they play a part?
Yeah, it's critical. That's our experience. It's critical, and this is a game of development. And it's what it's all about. And you can't fail in development but do great in every other thing and expect to have a good football team. Development is foundational. So those guys being a better version of themselves, those guys that you're talking about, to me it's everything to completing the team. Just because you take a highly recruited guy out of the portal or a highly recruited guy out of high school doesn't make you better necessarily. What can they do? How can they execute? How can they, are they have the ability to play with aggressiveness and confidence? So all of that goes back to, the coaching part of it too. It's a two-way street from that standpoint, but they play a big part into it. Really counting on, whether it's again a Stutzman or it's a Woody or it's a Key Lawrence, Billy Bowman, again, Ethan Downs, Harrington, all those guys. They're a critical part of all of it.
Let's go far right, second row, John Hoover.
Yeah, Brent, every position battle is probably fun for the coaches to some level, but when you've got one that lasts all month, throughout the spring, all summer, goes through all of training camp, and comes down to the wire like cheetah and cornerback, is that like more intense? You get more eyes on film, you get more eyes watching them in practice. Can you kind of describe that process when it's real close like that?
I don't know if it's more. I think that you should put the same intent into all of it, whether it's, you don't have quite as much competition because it's really about making guys better. Sometimes you happen to make multiple guys better where you have a little more depth, but it's all about improving guys, and, getting them better, developing, correcting, teaching, coaching, scheming, strategizing with everybody. But to me, it just, I think it's more exciting, for the players too. I think they understand there's more of a sense of urgency, that the competition brings out the best in everybody. Every play matters. And, I think it's a quote unquote luxury to have, multiple starters, co-starters. That's not a bad thing. And you got to have the right kind of guys that can handle that. That are, again, we-centered and team-centered, not me-centered. So that's a big part of it too, and I don't take that for granted at all. I think that's inherently, as humans, we're selfish by nature. So we got to do a great job of nurturing, the team aspect and getting our guys to buy into whatever your opportunity is, make the most of it, be ready, and, and maximize the moment when you have your opportunity. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's not a real, what's that like? It's constantly ongoing.
Quick follow-up on Tawi. Is he still a walk-on?
He is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next to John, we'll go to Justin.
Hey Brent, I want to ask you about Billy Bowman being back on kick return game. Just for a guy like him who I've heard missed time last season, just how much of that decision is gauging how comfortable he is with being back there, and just what have you seen out of him in terms of his willingness to be a part of that?
Billy's willingness? Yeah, I mean, Billy begs to be a part of it. And again, he's incredibly explosive. He's wide open. He's got great instincts for it. It's very natural. He can really accelerate and run through trash. So, I know he got banged up last year. We've got a little more depth there. And again, we lost 5 games by 1 score. And so I don't think we're in any kind of position whatsoever to, let's save him. Save him for what? We're trying to win. And we just talked about field position was something that we didn't win. We were actually very poor last year in creating field position. And it's amazing what an additional 2-yard average can do for you, winning and losing and scoring and not scoring, what that'll do for you. And that's a real thing. So, we want all the weapons that, we can have back there to score and create field position.
Brent, on the D line with Rondell, what attributes have made it so easy for him to come in and lead and win his starting spot? And what's impressed you most about Jonah's transition to tackle?
Yeah, Rondell is again, he's physical, he's heavy-handed. He's got a lot of natural ability, good instincts. He's played a lot of ball and experience. So again, he knows the difference between max protection and a zone cutoff play. So he can key out quickly on a max pro. He knows when it's going to be a boot as opposed to a split flow play. Those are things that come from both experience and just a natural feel for the game, and he's just consistent. And you said about Jonah, what'd you ask about him?
Moving from defensive into tackle.
Yeah, it's a better position for him. For his physical attributes. Certainly he's added a little bit of weight, but he plays quicker inside and uses his hands well and plays with good pad level. He's been really good inside. So it's been a win-win with the addition of some additional edge players. It's made us better. And then Jonah's a guy that's a great leader. And a year ago, I don't think that we had great leadership inside. And, every defense, it starts, if you're going to have a good defense, man, you got to be strong and, up the middle of the defense. And, there shouldn't be any position that doesn't have great leadership, in my opinion. And so we needed to get better there, And so whatever great leadership means, it doesn't mean a guy that just shows up every day. I'm talking about guys that strain, guys that lead, guys that bring out the best in people around them, guys that like to compete, guys that like to be the example. They handle tough, hard coaching. They handle adversity well. They're going to be a model of consistency. Those are all leadership attributes. And we needed to get better there. And that's not the only position that needed to get better, but you asked about that position. I feel like Jonah takes that part of his game and his things that are his strengths and made that group better, as well as some other guys.
That's amazing, Tom.
When you have an established quarterback like Dylan and then bring in a player of Jackson's caliber, how do you kind of balance finding the opportunity for Jackson and getting him some experience without rushing his development? And do you take anything away from what you saw firsthand when you were at Clemson and had a couple of those guys comfortable with you on staff?
Yeah, I mean, again, you want to develop your roster, and so guys got to play. So you got to have a game plan for it. Get guys ready. I mean, he's our number 2 quarterback, so we don't have any other than the spring game. You don't have any real game experience, and you don't want the first time that they're in a real game to be when you don't have any other options. So we've got to do a good job of managing that, and collectively all of us have a kind of a vision for what that's going to look like at the appropriate time. And but Jackson's a hardworking, smart, instinctive, highly skilled guy that has a tremendous ceiling. He's not he'll be the first one to tell you that he's got a long ways to go to be where he wants to be, but he's willing to put the work in. He's got a great perspective, and he'll be ready when he's given his opportunity, and he'll learn and grow through all of it. But that's how he'll develop is by having those opportunities. There's no doubt that Dylan is our undisputed, quarterback, and for all the reasons that you all know. And but that's something that we know that Dylan won't be here next year, so we've got to get, we've got to prepare for that day as well. And so, like all positions, they got to have a plan for that, and we do.
Time for a few more. Third row, Cliff Brent.
Yeah, you'd mentioned co-starters earlier. I see Trace Ford. When he transferred into a position that was actually pretty stacked, and yet he's worked his way up to be a co-starter. What has he brought? What do you see, and why is he in that role?
I don't feel like we were stacked, and I don't say that as an indictment on any player. There might have been able bodies, but I just look at every position on our defense, and there wasn't nobody stacked anywhere. And stacked to me means quality, depth, proven ability at a really high level. And when we weren't there on defense at any position, so. He found opportunity, and so what he brings to the table. He's got a high motor. He's crazy explosive. He's physical at the point of attack. He's a cerebral guy. He allows you to coach him hard. He demands a lot from himself. He's willing to put in the time to learn the X's and the O's so that he can play fast. He's done a great job of doing that. His teammates have helped him do that. All the guys that were here, they've done a great job of helping him, again, to those shortcuts that sometimes it's the players know a little bit more than the coach on how to get there quickly from a player standpoint, or maybe the delivery's different and they take it better. But whatever the case may be, he's, again, a guy that has played some football, so he relies on some of the experience, and he's a confident guy in his ability, but humble for the process that it takes to play at a high level. So he was willing to, he didn't pout when he started off as a third group guy, maybe a fourth group guy. He's at the back of the line. He's earned his opportunity, every step of the way. And when he has been given some opportunity, he made the most of those small windows, like you want all of your players to do. Don't worry about how many snaps. When you get an opportunity to get in there, execute. Your job is to know what to do, play fast, play aggressive, and he's done that. So he's responded well and has created value and opportunity for himself. It's not in. To me, as a coach, our responsibility is to make sure that that we have integrity to everything that we do from a procedural standpoint, how you earn opportunity to play. And I don't want to recruit anybody. I never will. Make promises other than an opportunity to earn value and an opportunity to create a position for yourself on the team. So hard work is what it's all about. That's what he's brought, and it's responded. It's made everybody else, even several of the returning players, it's made them better. And that's what you hope by creating, the depth.
Far left, James Johnson. Coach, Jaren Kinnick kind of earned the top spot for you all in the linebacker position. What can you say about his growth and how he's gotten to this point now from where he started when he first got here?
Yeah, it's been just tremendous. It's one of those graphs. And there's been, some, it's in the green, for some small dips along the way, but he literally had no foundation. He's just a skilled player that, again, I bet you it was maybe 15 plays that I evaluated on defense that he just blitzed off the edge. Maybe not that many. And so that's not, an indictment on anyone, but he just had a lot that he didn't know. Talking about the first time, there was a lot of first times. And like getting in a stance, where do I put my eyes? What foot do I step with? How do I know the difference between run and pass and a screen and a boot and a power and a counter and a, RPO? he just, oh, geez, and he has worked tirelessly, to put him in a position to be capable of playing good quality football. And he's nowhere close to what he's going to be. It's a young group, and I could really say the same thing about a lot of them, but many of them grew up playing linebacker, but Jaron didn't. But he's really improved. He'll make tremendous improvement during the season. I think that group will really make tremendous improvement, on the season. It's a group of guys that haven't played much linebacker at the collegiate level. So, but it's a group of guys that, we've got great cohesion and chemistry, tremendous toughness, great work ethic. They really strain. They understand the value of straining, the improvement, our ability just to go through fundamentals and understanding, how to play linebacker with the right kind of fundamentals and the strain that it takes at practice. That's fun for me. When they do that, then they have a chance. And that's where it all starts, how you practice, the mindset, the attitude, understanding you're the backbone of the defense. Every coach should say that about their players. For me, I've always taken great pride in the linebackers leading the way, and I love the depth there, love the group. Jaron has been a big part of that. Danny's been an amazing leader for all of them, and he has tremendous will. But then you got a guy like a Harrington that, he's a hybrid linebacker, and man, he is just plugged right in. I've had the former DB that gets in those linebacking group, and he's like, man, I'm not a linebacker now. And so then that guy, you got to trick him. I know you're, a cheetah. And however you got to get them to, how to not have twinkle toes in the box. You got to be able to play behind your pads. And I don't want the people that can say, well, we'll just go formation into the boundary and we'll make him have to tackle somebody. We'll put him in the B gap. Good. That's what I say. Train them and develop them so that can be an advantage for you too. It's not a disadvantage. And so we've worked really hard at doing that. And again, a guy like Kanik on how to play in the box and how to take on blocks and who's going to block me on certain schemes. There's a lot going on there. And again, he'll be baptized during the season. I have no illusions of grandeur. That's going to happen too. But what I bet on people, and we've got an amazing group of people in the linebacker room. And it's not a coach just touting his guys. That's not how it is. If they weren't a group of guys that weren't about the things I'm talking about, I wouldn't say it. And so I've got tremendous excitement for that group, Jaron and his development, but for us to play at the level that I expect us to play at, it's not going to be just Jaron. We've got to have the quality depth there. And again, I like Kobe was a little bit banged up, missed several practices, but he's back and at it. And what he's been able to do, Danny plays some Mike as well. But he's our will linebacker, but he also plays the Mike. And then Phil Picciotti has done a fantastic job. Connor Neer, he's really done a great job of jumping in the competition and being humble and fitting. That can't be an easy thing for a guy that was a 4-year starter, a multi-year All-American, a multi-year national champion, to give up a lot to come and to have to start over and learn in many ways. I love that. His courage and his confidence, his toughness in doing so, that's added value to our group, but it also made everybody else up their game. And all right, good, that was the intent, make everybody better. And if something happens, whether it's injury or we lose our mind temporarily, which will happen occasionally, you have a guy, like a guy like a Connor Neer can go in there at any point in time in a game and do well. So excited about, what he brings to that group as well. And then you also saw, Kip Lewis out here, in the spring game. He's a ball magnet. He knows where that ball is. His only thing that's, kept him back, he's just not a big guy. He's got a nice frame, 6'2", broad shoulders, but, 212 pounds. But he plays bigger. He's a guy that plays bigger. He can really strike, and his timing and his ability to, speed to contact is different. Then you got Lewis Carter, Shane Witter, and some other guys that really like to run and hit. So, again, we couldn't have these conversations a year ago at all. And we tried to find 3 guys that could line up and play linebacker, and we really didn't have, backups a year ago. So Jaron's in a much different place. He played outside. I wanted to have the 3 freshmen that we brought in a year ago not back each other up, knowing that, okay, probably in due time, one of them's going to have to move. But so last year, because we didn't have depth, we put Kanik at the cheetah, and we put Kobe, who's played his whole life as a middle linebacker, at middle linebacker, and then we had Kip Lewis at will. And so Kobe and Kip are still at their positions, and we moved Jaron, inside with the addition of, Harrington, McCullough, Sammy Omasigo, Pearson, Bowen, all those guys.
We have time for 2 more. Do you need to
Yeah.
Let's go to Colton and then Curtis. Colton.
Brett, just wanted to ask you to provide an update on a couple guys that were rehabbing and recovering during fall camp, or any other injury updates before Saturday.
You can't be general. You got give me something specific.
Jacob Sexton, Walter Rush.
Yeah, Walter's